Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Michael Lofton Show here on Reason and Theology. Hope you are all are doing well. I wanted to comment on the situation with Bishop Strickland receiving an apostolic visit. News just broke about this, and I was waiting for news to break on it because I knew about it well in advance. I knew that he would be receiving an apostolic visit, and so just kind of been waiting for the news to break. And uh, seems like that happened yesterday. And I wanted to comment on it now that I have the freedom to do so. Um, so there's a lot of people who are really upset about this or really confused. There's quite a few people who are thinking that this is due to um, Bishop Strickland's defense of the Catholic Church's position on morality, especially in relation to the situation with the LA Dodgers, or perhaps his defense of the unborn. I mean, all these are great things. But there are people who are saying this is the reason why he's going to receive an apostolic or has already received an apostolic visit. And they'll say it's a prelude to removing him from ministry because he is open about the church's teachings on sexuality, on morality. He's defending these things on social media. And Rome doesn't like that. And so Rome wants to persecute him and relieve him from ministry. And that is simply not the case. That is speculation that people are engaging in. And in fact, I have a alternative suggestion that people should consider, because Bishop Strickland has been doing this for a while. That is defending the church's position, and rightly so. And I think that's praiseworthy. But there was something that he did recently that I think really triggered this. But first, let me say, I do think that Bishop Strickland is a great bishop. I've had him on the show several times, 2 or 3 times. I think he's a great man. I think he really loves Jesus, loves Christ, wants to do the right thing. I think that he, in many ways, just has a lot of virtues, a lot of strengths, a lot of good qualities for a bishop. However, I've noticed is he's gone a little too far, however, into buying into radical traditionalism. There are some people who are surrounding Bishop Strickland that have been feeding him misinformation and radical traditionalist propaganda against the Pope. And that's unfortunate. And I think that in some ways they've taken advantage of him because he's a bishop. He does not have enough time to really research these things. He is relying on others that he trusts, not realizing that they are misdirecting him, giving him misinformation, and then creating a certain picture about Pope Francis that is false. And it has caused him to buy into radical traditionalism because, and I say again, I think that's unfortunate because he has so many virtues, so many merits, so many great qualities as a leader in the Catholic Church and as a bishop. And I think he's been hoodwinked. I don't think he realizes it, but it's very clear that that is the case from various people, not naming names here and telling you who, but there are various people around him who have clearly deceived him, and caused him to think some things about Pope Francis that aren't true. And so because of that, he put out a tweet. Let me show the tweet that he sent out. Let's see, May 12th. I think this is the reason why he's receiving the apostolic visitation. Like I said, I knew about it, that he would be receiving it. And again, a lot of people are trying to theorize, why is this happening? What exactly is causing it? And there's all kinds of people out there who are, stirring people up and saying, oh, it's just Rome trying to persecute a good bishop. It's just Rome persecuting him because he just said that, with the issue with LA Dodgers, what they were doing is wrong, or his defense of the unborn, and has nothing to do with that. He's been saying that for a long time and he hasn't received an apostolic visitation. But there was this message that he posted where he crossed the line. Somebody says in the chat, he's not a great bishop, Michael. Sheesh. No, actually, I'm going to disagree with you. I think there's a lot of great qualities that he has as a bishop. But has he crossed the line? Yes. Yes, he has. Has that been impacted his ministry as a bishop? Yeah, of course it has. Obviously, I don't agree with the direction that he's gone with radical traditionalism. But what I'm saying is he has a lot of great virtues and qualities as a leader. And if he could back away from this radical traditionalism that he has been brainwashed into believing, dial it back, he could be a very effective bishop in the Catholic Church. I don't know if it's too late for him. We'll see. But again, he has been posting all kinds of stuff defending the church's teaching on morality for a long time, and he didn't receive an apostolic visitation. I submit to you the reason why he's receiving this apostolic visitation is this tweet right here. Because here he crossed the line. He says, please allow me to clarify. Regarding Patrick Coffin challenged the authenticity of the Pope Francis. If this is accurate, I disagree. I believe Pope Francis is the Pope, but it is time for me to say that I reject the program of undermining the deposit of faith. I'm sorry, I reject his program of undermining the deposit of faith. Follow Jesus. Okay, so I've already reviewed this tweet, back when it came out, so I'm not going to do that at length here, but clearly there is a there's several major problems here. Number one, what he's saying isn't true, because a program of undermining the deposit of faith on part of Pope Francis implies intention on part of the Pope, not only an intention, but an actual plan, like a as he calls it, a program. I think not only has he misjudged Pope Francis, but he has slandered Pope Francis. He has slandered him. He also is, unfortunately, espousing a Protestant view of ecclesiology here. It's implied in the text. Don't follow the Pope, follow Jesus. That's Protestantism. Now, obviously, whenever a Pope sins, we could say, don't follow the Pope in sin, follow Jesus. But it's quite a different thing when we talk about the program of the Pope. Now we're starting to get into problems with ecclesiology. This is a tweet that I felt so betrayed by. Because, again, I've had Bishop Strickland on the show multiple times. I felt so offended and betrayed by him. How could he post this slanderous garbage? It's a false accusation against Pope Francis. It is slanderous, and it also implies a Protestant ecclesiology. Don't follow the Pope, follow Jesus. We're not Protestants. That doesn't mean that everything a Pope does is going to be on point. And can we say that anytime a Pope sins, or anytime he does something that is unwise, there's a sense in which that undermines the deposit of faith? Yes, we can say that about everybody. Myself, yourself, all of us, whenever we sin and it's known to the public, in a way that undermines the deposit of faith. And the Pope is not exempt from that. But when we start talking about his program, that is how he's actually shepherding and governing the church, with his intentions and with his plans, that's something else. Again, Vatican I, if the See of St. Peter has become a see of pestilence, Bishop Gasser is going to say the church has defected from the faith. So again, underlying this comment is a deficient ecclesiology. And it's based on misinformation that he has been fed, because I don't think he's really looked a whole lot into what Pope Francis has actually said. It's a lot of misinformation that he has been fed by people who are around him, who he's very close with, who are publicly known for being detractors of Pope Francis, who are publicly known for spreading misinformation about Pope Francis. And I've demonstrated it over and over and over on this video, that they are giving misinformation, that they are detracting or slandering Pope Francis. So again, I think he's been hoodwinked, and he puts this out, and then lo and behold, all of a sudden he has an apostolic visitation. Again, it's not because of the LA Dodgers. It's because of this. That's why. Cross the line. We can all say, again, the Pope, whenever he does something wrong or unwise, that's an undermining of the deposit of faith. But it's a very different thing to start to imply that a person's intentions and plan is to undermine the deposit of faith. And again, that's all there in the program concept. Now, has he come out and said, oh, no, that's not what I meant? No, he hasn't. He has not. And he has had plenty of time to do that. I know I critiqued it originally, and I imagine others have as well. And he hasn't come out and said, oh, no, that's not what I meant. Here's what I meant. Which I find to be ironic, given that this group of radical traditionalists generally want the Pope to come out and clarify himself, yet they will not clarify themselves whenever they say things that are Protestant in nature. So again, this is why I think he's receiving the apostolic visitation. And for those of y'all who are not aware, the apostolic visitation, what they're going to do is, and they already have been doing this, it seems, is they're interviewing various people in the diocese, touching base with them, getting their impression about what all is going on in the diocese. And, it's kind of speculation at this point, but I think that they're going to hear some things about what's going on in the diocese, and they're going to have some concerns. I don't know if, if this is just going to kind of be a warning and he's just going to be encouraged to back off from this kind of attacks against Pope Francis. Maybe that's all it will be. And you know what? In some ways, I hope that's all it will be. I hope that Bishop Strickland will effectively just be warned by Rome, back off from this slandering of Pope Francis and attacks on him. Back away from that. Dial it back. Get rid of this radical traditionalism and shepherd your diocese as an effective pastor. And I hope that he'll learn from the situation in that regard, and that he'll be a great shepherd for his diocese. I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if it's too late. I don't know if he's even willing to do that. I don't know if they're going to effectively research the situation and see that there's some problems, and they're going to encourage him to retire. And if he doesn't retire, if they're going to then, if Rome's going to basically then say, okay, well, you got to go and remove him from ministry. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. But what I would like to see happen is that he gets some better people around him, surrounding him, to advise him, not only about news in the church, but especially theology and ecclesiology. That's what I would like to see. And for him to then just back away from the radical traditionalism and then be a good and strong bishop in his diocese. We need that. I hope that's what happens. I guess we'll find out. But a couple of things I wanted to go over here. This is a tweet somebody sent me too. I thought it was interesting. I think it kind of sums up the reaction of a lot of people. It says the hierarchy may be tyrants. Yeah, that's not slanders, but they're not stupid. Bishop Strickland is America's bishop. Not sure about that one. If they cancel him, they will mobilize the entire American laity into action. No. Nothing would unite the clans more than that. We would rally to his side. Yeah, no, terrible take. This nonsense of uniting the clans, we've heard that a million times, and I thought that's been napalmed already. How can we talk about uniting the clans when some of these clans have heretical and schismatic versions and understandings of ecclesiology? There's no unity there when people are promoting heresy, lies, and schism. There's no unity there. We can't have unity based on falsehood. And by the way, I thought we already had unity and communion with Rome. So I think that we're putting unity in the wrong place. It sounds like some people want to have unity in being opposed to the Pope, whereas I thought that we as Catholics had unity surrounding communion with the Pope. But you'll notice a lot of these people, again, are Protestants effectively in their ecclesiology. Speaking of which, this video came up in my feed, And this is how I knew that he received the visitation. As soon as I saw the title without even watching the video, I immediately knew, okay, well, I guess news about his apostolic visitation is broken. And so I clicked on it and watched it. And sure enough, that's what it's about. I'm going to share my screen. We're going to watch just a few minutes of this, and let's get their take on it. Here you have John Henry Weston from LifeSite News and Jesse Romero, one of the two. All right, let's go ahead and play a few minutes here.
Meeting right now, and we're not going to take this city down. We love Bishop Strickland. There will be a Catholic response.
So the Catholic response should be, the Pope is entrusted with the universal government of the church. And so what I'm going to do, especially given that I don't have all the information, I'm going to let the Pope do his job and not immediately judge the Pope as misgoverning the church and abusing his power and beating up on Bishop Strickland. That would be the Catholic response.
It'll be appropriate. Remember, because we're Catholics, we're not Protestants. We're Catholics. So it'll be an appropriate.
He says we're not Protestants, we're Catholics, except the ecclesiology that they're often espousing is Protestant. That's the irony here.
Tempered, measured response based on the Catechism of the Catholic Church, paragraph 907 and Canon 212. Wow.
Oh, Canon 212. I'm so happy that one was brought up. Thank you. Let's actually look at Canon 212, since it's often quoted only in part. So he's saying there's going to be a Catholic response based on Canon 212. Yeah, let's actually read Canon 212. And let's see, do the radical traditionalists actually follow Canon 212? Let's see. The Christian faithful, all the Christian faithful have the duty and right to work so that the divine message of salvation more and more reaches all people in every age and every land. Okay. Paragraph 1. Conscious of their own responsibility, the Christian faithful are bound to follow with Christian obedience. There's a word that you don't really see a whole lot of in radical traditionalist circles. Obedience, those things which the sacred pastors, inasmuch as they represent Christ, declare as teachers of the faith or establish as rulers of the church. Is the Pope acting currently with this apostolic visitation within his authority as a teacher of the faith and a ruler of the church? The answer is yes. The Christian faithful are free to make known to their pastors of the church their needs, and that's effectively the part that he's implying here, especially spiritual ones and their desires. But here's the part that people generally miss, especially the radical traditionalists. Paragraph 3. According to the knowledge, competence, and prestige which they possess, they have the right and even at times the duty to manifest to sacred pastors their opinion on matters which pertain to the good of the church and to make their opinion known to the rest of the Christian faithful. Again, some are going to say, well, that's exactly what we're doing here. But they miss the next part. Without prejudice to the integrity of faith and morals, with reverence towards their pastors. I'm sorry, but are you really going to tell me that the radical traditionalists, in the way they're reacting to the news about Strickland, or really anything else that they stir up as a controversy in the church? Because yes, it's them who is stirring it up. Because again, Rome didn't even release news about the apostolic visitation. It's the more radical traditionalists on social media stirring people up into a frenzy. With reverence towards their pastors, inattentive to common advantage and the dignity of persons. Do the radical traditionalists, when they are speaking of their pastors and bishops, are they cognizant of their dignity and their office? I think that's obviously a challenge in this community.
As Catholics, we, again, Fulton Sheen said in 1974, who's going to save the church? Is it our priests? Is it our bishops? Is it our deacons? He goes, no, it's the laity. This is time for us to protect bishops.
And it will not be the laity who are promoting schism, and it will not be laity who are fighting against Rome. That's the point. Otherwise, we are now Protestants because they have a whole bunch of laity, don't they? Yeah, they do. So obviously, we're referring here to the laity who are not only in communion with Rome, but are preserving communion with Rome in their theology. Which again, I would say many in this camp are not doing. So in that way, they're no different than the laity of the Protestant Reformation, who were claiming to preserve the apostolic faith and were claiming to preserve the gospel, but they were doing so in opposition to Rome.
Like Strickland and priests like the coalition.
He said priests like the coalition, and notice the video here, Coalition for Cancel Priests. Let me tell you something. I'm not going to name names, but I have direct information, very direct information about some of the individuals involved in this. And believe me, there is a very good reason why. Very good reason why they were canceled. And if you found out some of the reasons, hopefully you would be mortified. Hopefully. Unfortunately, I think that some people, when they find out, when this stuff is made public, some people will find out and they'll be horrified and they'll see that they backed the wrong horse. Others would be like, no, I'm on board with those guys. And that's what's even worse is I think it will actually bring out what's already there in the interior, the schism that's already there in the interior. But let me just say this. With a lot of these cancel priests, you're backing the wrong horse. And there will be a day that I'll be vindicated for saying that. I can't give you any more details right now, but I'll be vindicated one day. That information will come out and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. And then I'll come and do a live stream and I'll say, and now I'm at liberty to tell you about this information. I knew about it and here's why. And, you know, a lot of people wonder, Michael, why are you just, you know, always criticizing these rat trads? Well, first of all, why are they always criticizing Pope Francis? Why are they always slandering Pope Francis? If they stop slandering Pope Francis, if they stop spreading misinformation, if they stop spreading lies, then I won't have to respond. But as long as they have a job in slandering Pope Francis and promoting misinformation, I think that I have a duty to an extent to say something. But a lot of people again say, Michael, why do you do all this? Maybe I know some things that you don't know. Maybe I have access to information that you don't have access to. Maybe that's why. Maybe I know things that I can't tell you publicly. Maybe that's why. Let's continue.
So this evening, as you already heard, 9 p.m. Texas time, 2 bishops from the Vatican will be meeting with Bishop Strickland. Bishop Strickland knows about this, has known about this, and he, remember, went to LA right from the bishops' conference. He's the bishop from Tyler. He went to LA. The bishop in LA would not do a procession. Other bishops probably didn't want him to go. You can imagine what they might have said to him at the bishops' conference, yet he went anyway. He went to defend the faith from utter sacrilege, from the most disgusting, they're the most disgusting anti-hate group in America.
And I'm glad he defended the faith there. I think what he did is good. But notice they're bringing this up as if this is the reason why he's receiving the apostolic visitation. And again, it has nothing to do with it. What they won't bring up, what they won't tell you is the tweet that I just showed you earlier. That's the one they won't comment on. You know why? Because they agree with the tweet. Because they believe that Pope Francis is a heretic. Because they believe that he has a program of undermining the faith. Not that he's somehow unintentionally undermining the faith with bad decisions. I think we all can agree in some cases, yeah, the Pope is undermining the faith with some bad decisions, unintentionally. but I don't think he intends it, number one. And number two, I don't think he has a program, like an actual plan with the intention of, let me try to undermine and destroy the church. That's going too far. But that's why they don't bring that up. That's why they're looking for another excuse for this. Is they don't think, surely, it's because of that tweet. That no, they don't think that, because you know what? They actually agree with it. And for the group that actually agrees with it, I would have to ask, how many of them actually believe Pope Francis is Pope? I'd love for them to publicly state and profess that they believe Pope Francis is Pope. I'd like to see them make the profession of faith as well. The profession of faith promulgated by John Paul II. I think it's high time that some of them, publicly, as public figures, make a profession of faith. But I'd also say the same thing of many of the progressives. I mean, I think that Father James Martin needs to make a public profession of the faith, because some of the stuff he says, I don't know if he really can say it. And, here's one criticism that I will offer. All right, sending apostolic visitors to Bishop Strickland because of his attack on Pope Francis, though understandable, I think we need to be more consistent. There has been some discipline of progressives in the church by Pope Francis. There has been, but I think we need more of it. And I also think that, okay, we need to do something about the German bishops. Again, Rome has been doing some things, but I don't think Rome has been doing enough. Now, in the case of the German bishops, there's so many of them, you would have to replace an entire Episcopal conference. And I think in his mind, that is Pope Francis, he's thinking, I don't want another German schism. I don't think he's handling it in the right way. I don't think he's handling it in the best way. That is Pope Francis. But I think that's kind of where he's coming from. Whereas in the case of Strickland, we're just talking about one bishop. Whereas with Germany, we're talking about an entire Episcopal conference. And I've done many videos talking about that, so I won't belabor the point here. But could a person point out, all right, they're sending apostolic visitors here, but shouldn't some apostolic visitors be sent to the diocese of this or that bishop? Yeah, probably so. Should the radical progressives be disciplined in the church? Yeah, I think so. And I think that that's a fair criticism that a person could bring up. But that doesn't mean that apostolic visitors shouldn't be sent here, though. It's kind of like if both of my kids do wrong, and I go to discipline one of them, but maybe I neglected to discipline the other. The argument there should be, I need to discipline both, not neither. And if I go to discipline one, that doesn't mean that I'm wrong for disciplining one of them. It just means that I need to be consistent and discipline the other two. But the solution is not to say neither should be disciplined. The solution would be to say both should be disciplined. That's kind of the situation here, in my opinion.
What do? They mock Christ. They dress up as our Lord, expose themselves, and do the most filthy things. This is an anti-Catholic hate group. That's what happened in America. Major League Baseball.
I think he's right about that. I agree with him. There's a lot of things I don't agree with him in LifeSite News, but I agree with him on this point. It is an anti-Catholic group, and it is a hate group, and it's despicable that the Dodgers promoted this group.
All the institution of America honored them. The Dodgers are an anti-Christian group until they apologize for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's reasonable. I don't contest that.
Conscience go and patronize the Dodgers at all until they stop offending our mother. So,
what does this have to do with the apostolic visitors?
We need to pray tonight for Bishop Strickland and for sanity in the church, because they're attacking the #1 bishop in America.
Notice that they're attacking. He doesn't even have all the information yet. That is John Henry Weston. Doesn't even have all the information. Doesn't even know for sure what the intentions are on part of the apostolic visitors. He doesn't know that. But he already can assume that they're attacking. Or is the Pope actually governing his church from a bishop who has publicly slandered him?
In fact, there's few bishops in the entire world that are more courageous, more faithful, and more in love with Jesus Christ.
And I think that that's probably true. I think that he's courageous. I think that he loves Jesus. I think he wants to be faithful. That is Bishop Strickland. But what does that then say? If one of the few, according to John Henry Weston, one of the few who loves Jesus is slandering the Pope, what does that then say? That's not good. If one of the few is slandering the Pope and has this quasi-Protestant ecclesiology, that's not good. Which is why I think, again, I hope Bishop Strickland backs away from this radical traditionalism that he has been fed by people around him. Backs away from it, repents of it, turns away from it, undoes the damage that he has created, and then serves as an effective bishop in his diocese. Because again, we're all in agreement. He has, a great deal of virtues and qualities to be a strong and good bishop. And it's a shame to see that those good and strong qualities are being overshadowed right now because of other problems.
Bishop Strickland. Terry Barber, who you know because he works with these two fine fellows, and I'm very proud to call him a friend of mine. He works with Bishop Strickland all the time. And he will tell you how incredibly faithful this bishop is, how incredibly humble this bishop is. This bishop tells him, Terry, talking to a layman, Terry, if I make a mistake on air, correct me on the air. Don't wait till after the show.
All right. Did he correct him about his slanderous tweet against Pope Francis? I don't know. I haven't really watched, but hopefully he has. And hopefully, again, Bishop Strickland will back away from that. Get some better advisors around him and move forward positively if it's not too late. Unfortunately, I think in some ways it might be too late. If I had to guess what's probably going to happen, he's probably going to be asked to tender his resignation after they do their investigation. I think that's probably what's going to happen. And it's unfortunate because he has so many great qualities to be a great bishop. And it's a shame to see that being wasted because he has been hoodwinked into believing radical traditionalism. This is why I talk about this stuff. This is why I'm fighting against it, because they're infecting the minds of good people who are in a good position to be able to make some change in the church. And they're infecting their minds with misinformation and slander. And it's sad. Well, anyways, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. And of course, check me out, patreon.com/reason and theology if you want to see some extra content that I have for patrons only. Let's pray for Bishop Strickland. We'll see you later.